Hi, welcome. Enjoy the content, subscribe, and turn on notifications.
Noah had always believed he knew Victoria better than anyone else in the world. 6 years of marriage built that kind of certainty, the feeling that there were no secrets between them, that transparency was the solid foundation on which they'd built a shared life. He worked remotely as a systems analyst, spending his days immersed in code and reports, while Victoria managed marketing campaigns for a mid-sized company. Their routine was predictable, almost monotonous, but Noah liked that. He liked the stability, the peace that came from knowing exactly what to expect the next day. He never imagined that peace could be shattered in a single night. It was an ordinary Friday when Victoria mentioned over breakfast that she was going out to dinner with her group of work friends. A monthly gathering she never missed, always the same routine, a nice restaurant, conversation about work and personal life, and she'd be back home around 11. Noah didn't even blink when he heard. He wished her fun, gave her a quick kiss before she left, and returned to his computer, deep in a complex spreadsheet due by Monday. Victoria left the house around 7, wearing a navy blue dress that brought out her light eyes, medium heels, and light makeup. Noah watched her get ready, saw her pick a beige lace thong from the dresser drawer and put it on before adjusting her dress. The image stayed lodged in his mind without him realizing how important it would become just hours later. Time passed slowly. Noah made a sandwich, watched a few episodes of a series while working, and answered client emails. Midnight came, and he noticed Victoria hadn't returned yet. He found it slightly odd, but figured maybe dinner had run long or they were just talking more than usual. He tried calling, but her phone went straight to voicemail. He sent a quick text, "Everything okay? When are you coming back?" No reply. 1 in the morning. 2 in the morning. A sharp pang of anxiety started to build in his chest. He called again, 3 more times, always going to voicemail. He sent more messages, all ignored. By 3:30 a.m., the anxiety had turned into something close to panic. Where was she? Why wasn't she answering? Was everything all right? At 4:10 a.m., his phone finally vibrated. A message from an unknown number, "Hi, I'm Victoria's friend. She drank too much and is here at my place. Do you want to come pick her up?" Then came an address in a neighborhood Noah didn't recognize, on the other side of the city. He felt a mix of relief and confusion. At least she was alive, but what the hell was going on? He threw on a hoodie, grabbed his car keys, and sped off through the empty streets of the early morning. GPS led him to a quiet residential area filled with large houses and well-kept lawns. When he turned onto the indicated street, Noah immediately knew something was wrong. The house at the given address glowed like a beacon in the darkness, loud music spilling through its windows, cars parked haphazardly all along the street. People stood on the porch, young men and women holding plastic cups, laughing loudly, clearly drunk. This was definitely not a calm dinner among work friends. Noah parked, got out with his heart pounding, and walked to the front door. Before he could ring the bell, a red-haired woman, maybe in her mid-30s, opened it and asked, "Are you Noah?" He nodded. "I'm Melissa. Victoria's inside. Come with me." Noah followed Melissa through a living room packed with people dancing, drinking, talking loudly. The smell of alcohol and cheap perfume was overwhelming. He passed groups of strangers he'd never seen before, all visibly drunk. Melissa led him down a hallway to one of the back bedrooms. She opened the door and pointed to the bed. Victoria was lying on her side, her clothes disheveled, her hair messy and covering part of her face, her makeup smudged around her eyes. She was awake, but her eyes were glazed, unfocused, unable to lock onto anything. A wave of anger and confusion crashed over Noah. "Victoria," he called, touching her shoulder. She slowly turned her head, taking a few seconds to recognize him. "Noah," she mumbled, her voice thick. "Let's go," he said, trying to keep his voice steady. He gave Melissa a cold thanks, and she just shrugged and walked back to the party. Noah helped Victoria stand, but she stumbled, leaning her full weight against him. He practically carried her to the car, buckled her into the passenger seat, and fastened her seatbelt. All the way home, Victoria mumbled incoherently, sometimes sounding like she was crying, other times just staring blankly out the window. Noah drove in silence, jaw clenched, hands gripping the wheel tightly. His mind was a whirlwind of unanswered questions. When they finally got home, he helped her inside, holding her by the waist as she tripped over her own feet. He took her straight to the bathroom, deciding she needed a shower before sleeping. He started unzipping her dress from the back, and that's when he noticed. Victoria wasn't wearing underwear. Noah froze, staring at the absence of that intimate detail. He was absolutely certain, crystal clear, that she'd left the house wearing that beige lace thong. The image was burned into his memory. His stomach twisted, nausea rising in his throat. He finished helping her shower, working almost on autopilot, trying not to imagine what this meant. After the shower, he dried her off with a towel, dressed her in a clean nightgown, and led her to bed. Victoria collapsed onto the mattress and fell asleep almost instantly, snoring softly. Noah stood beside the bed, staring at her, trying to recognize the woman he'd married. He couldn't. He walked out of the room, went to the living room, sat on the couch, and stayed there, motionless, staring at the wall, until the sun began to rise through the window. He didn't sleep a single second. Victoria woke up around 10, groaning with a headache. Noah was in the kitchen making coffee when she appeared in the doorway, pale, dark circles under her eyes, holding her head. God, what a hangover, she muttered, sitting at the table. Noah poured coffee into a mug and set it in front of her without a word. Victoria drank in silence for a few seconds before sensing the icy atmosphere. Noah, I'm sorry about last night. I guess I drank too much. He stared at her with an expression she couldn't read. You left for dinner with friends, he began in a low, sharp voice, and I had to pick you up from a party full of people I've never seen before, you totally out of it, passed out on a bed, clothes all messed up, and something missing that didn't match how you left the house. And all you have to say is you drank too much? The silence that followed was deafening. Victoria opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. I don't really remember what happened, she stammered. We did go to dinner, yes, but then some of the girls suggested going to Melissa's place, and I don't know, I had wine, then vodka, and, Noah cut her off. Victoria, you left the house with every detail of your outfit in place, and you came back completely different. Do you have any explanation for that, or are you just going to keep pretending you don't remember anything? Victoria started crying, tears streaming down her face. I swear I don't know, Noah. Maybe I lost something in the bathroom, or I honestly don't remember. Noah felt a wave of disgust. He stood up, walked to the bedroom, and started packing a suitcase with clothes. Victoria followed him, desperate. What are you doing? She asked, her voice trembling. I need some time away from you, he replied without looking at her. I need to think. And without further explanation, he grabbed the suitcase and walked out. Noah rented a small, furnished apartment in a building across town. A minimalist space, just the essentials, bed, table, chair, fridge. He threw himself into work, diving into projects so he wouldn't have to think about Victoria. She called several times a day, sent long messages begging for forgiveness, asking to talk, swearing nothing had happened. Noah replied with single words or simply ignored her. 3 weeks passed like this. He was seriously considering divorce, ending it all, as Victoria showed up at his apartment door. She looked different, thinner, paler, with even deeper dark circles. Noah, please, I need to talk to you, she pleaded. He let her in but didn't invite her to sit. They stood in the narrow living room, facing each other. Victoria took a deep breath, as if gathering courage. I'm pregnant, she blurted out, and the words seemed to suck all the air from the room. Noah felt as if he'd been punched in the gut. Pregnant. He didn't know whether to feel joy, fear, anger, or all of it at once. But then the obvious question forced its way into his mind, inevitable, brutal. Is it mine? He asked, his voice hoarse. Victoria crumpled. She began sobbing uncontrollably, gasping for breath. I'm not sure, she admitted through tears. Noah felt his world collapse. What do you mean you're not sure? He asked, but he already knew the answer. Victoria covered her face with her hands, her body trembling. That night, at the party, I ended up with someone. I'd been drinking too much, my head was foggy, but I know I crossed a line. I cheated on you. The words poured out in a desperate rush, as if she'd been holding them in for weeks and could no longer bear it. Noah was silent for a long moment, processing. Part of him had suspected it, but hearing the confirmation was different. It was real, concrete, undeniable. Who? He asked, his voice dangerously calm. I don't want to say who it was, Victoria confessed, still crying. I know who it was, Noah, but just thinking about it fills me with shame. All I know is that I made the worst mistake of my life. Noah felt a sickening mix of rage, sadness, and strange relief because now he was absolutely certain he needed to end it. Get out, he said, opening the door. Noah, please, she tried. Get out, he repeated, firmer this time. Victoria stumbled out, still sobbing, and Noah closed the door behind her. He leaned against the wall and slid down to the floor, burying his face in his hands. The following Monday, Noah filed for divorce. He hired a competent lawyer, requested full separation of assets, and waived any alimony. Emotionally shattered and pregnant, Victoria didn't contest anything. She signed every document Noah's lawyer sent and accepted all terms. The process moved quickly since there was no dispute over anything. Months dragged on. Noah dove even deeper into work, taking on increasingly complex projects just to avoid thinking, to avoid feeling. Victoria tried reaching out a few times early on, but Noah blocked her number, blocked her on social media, and severed every possible tie. When Victoria was 6 months pregnant, Noah, still technically married but living completely apart, took a decision. He needed to know. He needed absolute certainty. He researched prenatal paternity tests and discovered non-invasive methods that required only a blood sample from the mother and the alleged father. Fetal DNA circulated in the mother's bloodstream and could be analyzed. Noah contacted a specialized clinic and scheduled the procedure. Through his lawyer, he informed Victoria he was demanding the test. She didn't object. They went separately to the clinic, each gave a blood sample, and then all they could do was wait. A week later, the results arrived by email. Noah was in his apartment, sitting at the dining table with his laptop open, when he saw the notification. He opened the PDF with trembling hands. He read through the technical report filled with scientific jargon until he reached the conclusion, paternity exclusion confirmed. The tested individual is not the biological father of the child. Noah read the sentence 3 times, 4 times, until the words fully sunk in. He wasn't the father. The child wasn't his. He called Victoria. She answered on the 3rd ring, her voice hesitant. Hi, Noah. We need to talk, he said, neutral tone. About the test results. Silence on the other end. I saw, she murmured. And, he pressed. Whose child is it, Victoria? She began crying again, that same convulsive sobbing he knew so well. I don't know for sure, Noah. I swear to God I don't. I know who it was, but I can't face that person or even say the name. All I know is that because of that choice, now I can't be sure of anything anymore. Noah felt such intense disgust he almost hung up right then. But there was one last thing he needed to say. "I just wanted you to know," he began, his voice cold as ice, "that you destroyed everything. Everything we built, everything we were. Over one night you can't even clearly remember. And now you're going to have a child and don't even know who the father is. I hope it was worth it." Before she could respond, he hung up, and immediately blocked the number. He didn't want to hear anything else. He didn't want to know anything else. The divorce was finalized 3 weeks before the baby was born. Noah signed the final papers in a cold, impersonal office, shook his lawyer's hand, and walked out. He was officially free. He sold some furniture, packed what remained of his life in that city, and moved to another state. He landed a remote position at a larger tech company with better pay and started over from scratch. He rented a new apartment in a city where no one knew him, where no one knew his story. He cut ties with mutual friends he and Victoria had shared, deleted old photos, erased everything he could. A few months after the move, Noah was working on his laptop at a cafe when he received a message from an unknown number. He almost ignored it, but curiosity got the better of him. It was from an old coworker of Victoria's, someone he'd met casually at company events. The message read, "Hi Noah, I know you don't want to hear this, but I thought you should know. Victoria had the baby. A girl. She's trying to locate the possible father to do a DNA test. I figured I'd let you know in case she tries to contact you." Noah read the message, typed "thanks for the info," and blocked the number. He felt nothing. No anger, no sadness, no curiosity. Just complete emptiness, as if that chapter of his life had happened to someone else. He never went back. He never tried to find out whether Victoria discovered who the father was, never wondered how she was doing, whether she'd recovered or moved on. To Noah, Victoria had ceased to exist the moment he signed the divorce papers. He met other people, went on some dates, but it took nearly 2 years before he could trust someone again. The betrayal had left deep scars, a mistrust that took a very long time to even begin fading. Eventually, Noah met a woman named Sarah at a professional networking event. They started as friends, talking about work, technology, and life in general. It took months before he felt comfortable enough to tell her Victoria's story. Sarah listened in silence, without judgment, and when he finished, she simply said, "You deserved better. And you still do." It was the first time in years that Noah felt he might truly be able to move forward. But nights were still hard. Sometimes he'd wake up in the middle of the night, sweating, with the image of Victoria at that party burning in his memory, tormenting his mind. Sometimes he'd wonder if there was something he could have done differently, some sign he should have noticed earlier. But deep down, he knew there wasn't. Some people simply choose to destroy what they have, and there's nothing you can do to stop them. Years later, Noah was at a tech conference in another city when, crossing the hotel lobby, he saw a woman from behind who made him stop. Her hair, her posture, something about her instantly reminded him of Victoria. His heart raced, his palms began to sweat. But then she turned, and he realized it was just someone who looked similar. It wasn't her. Noah took a deep breath, silently thanked the universe it wasn't her, and kept walking. In that moment, he realized he'd finally reached something that had seemed impossible years before: indifference. Victoria was no longer an open wound, no longer a constant ache. She was just a distant memory, a closed chapter of a life he no longer lived. And as the years kept passing, even those memories grew rarer, fainter, until one day Noah realized entire weeks had gone by without him thinking of her even once. He had built a new life, a better life, one where trust and respect formed the foundation of everything. Victoria had chosen to destroy what they had. Noah had chosen to rebuild himself. And in the end, that was the only victory that really mattered. Thank you for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you won't miss any updates. See you next time.